make the trip, and I really appreciate it. I want to tell you, yesterday at Arlington, that was breathtaking to see the soldiers with the taps and the flags and the bugles. And I know that Rudy's looking down from heaven. I hope he's got a balcony seat where he might come on today and have a good show. I really appreciate you being here. I wanted to say a few things. Serious thing to do. I'm looking at today. I got extra flags from Rudy's service because I wanted to present them. Service because I wanted to present them. One to Danny to take back to Louisiana for his family, and one to take to Hawaii for their family, for Jody and all of our Hawaiian kids. So that moment presentation, it was wonderful. Their grandfather loved the service, served his country well, as we all know, and we want them to have it. Thank you very much. So, has been Rudy's handyman for the last number of years, Bellan, and Rudy operated couldn't do. Rudy could build houses, fix stained glass windows, paint pictures, do everything. Oh, excuse me. Rudy could do everything. And Eric has filled in for us and been a wonderful friend to him. And Patrick was a visiting angel. They're both here today. I want to tell you, those two guys have really been such a help and blessing to our family. And we thank them for being here and helping all this. And I wanted to thank Lydia and her daughter Nikki came from Washington, and Danielle came all the way from New York. Then my whole family over there came from Hawaii. It's just wonderful how many people have come so far to honor Rudy. I'm trying not to anybody else. And I do want to tell you, if you haven't noticed, we have 4-month-old twins that have blessed our life. They're here today, and they are absolutely adorable, and we're so thankful they could come. And also my dearest friends, Marge and Shar, they made the beautiful centerpieces that you have on your table, and they did that for me. Here Marge was in New York, and she worked with the Shar and Planet. I thought that was delightful friendship. What about you now? Don't do anybody. I need my life. Oh, and Joe, the pretty little underneath your plate is like a program to tell you what's going to happen, who's going to do what when, and so you can have that to see. And Jan wrote a special song. Rudy and I have to wear the diaries around our neck. He gave it to me in November of '49, and what he said on it was, "Life is love in your mind." November of '49, and we've worn them all our married life for 63 years. Jan wrote a song for it, which he will sing later, and that is super special. And the Lynn Road singers, God bless them, they came all the way from LA. Kevin the pianist, Georgina and Jody and Jana will sing for us. I think I've said everything I can think of. I thank you all for being here, and God bless you and enjoy your food. I'd like to introduce our pastor, Pastor Paul. Will you come up, please? He'll be the benediction, and then we'll have lunch.
Hey everyone. First off, to the family, I just want you to know I had the pleasure to get to know your dad, Grandpa, over the last couple of years, and the one word I can say about him is a man of integrity. You know, and there's not many you can say about many men anymore today, but he was a man of integrity. Loved his family, loved his wife, and obviously we all know he sure loved his country, didn't he? And you know, I just want you to know from my heart, I'm really sorry for your loss. You know, I wish there was a way to take away the pain. But you know, there's one thing we have that's those of us who are Christians, I mean, we grieve, but we grieve a little differently. We grieve knowing two things. Rudy is our hope as he is in heaven right now. And the big one is we'll get to see him again. And that's the coolest thing ever. You know, I know you were at the cemetery yesterday, and any of you have been there and you walk those cemeteries and you're walking back to your car, and as you're walking by, there's all those tombstones that you walk by, you know, and they got a person's name on them, or They got their birth date and their end date here in this world. And sometimes there's people put little remembrances on it. You know, some will say the world's greatest mom, you know, or the world's greatest dad. I saw one that had a finger and just said, went home, you know. They got all different ones. Well, this is a true story. It's real quick, so we can go ahead and eat. But there were a couple of men, and they were just got done at a gravesite service, which some of you were there yesterday. And they're walking back to their car, and they're walking around with the stones, and they're looking at them. And the friend turns to the one, and he says, you know what? You know what makes the greatest remembrance, the greatest epitaph, the carved on the tombstone? He goes, it's those that were loved by you, those that were helped by you. He goes, carve your name on hearts and not on a piece of stone that just lies in the dirt. And that's exactly what Rudy has done. He has carved his name on the hearts of every single person in this room. Amen? Amen. Well, let me add a little prayer here, and this is something Rudy wanted me to do. Okay? Yes, I'm going to have to take care of that. Rudy wanted all of you to hold hands. Okay? So please, if you would do that. You have to put down your bread just a second. So, if you would, Rudy wanted to make sure that I said this prayer, number one, and then I will add to it. God, guide our leaders of this great nation to stand strong, to continue to lead and fight for freedom in this world, this wonderful world that we live in. And thank you, Lord, for the confidence that comes from the light placed in your hands. Thank you for the comfort we have in Christ during our times of grief, knowing that we have an eternity of happiness waiting with you forever. You know what? Thank you for that hope. Thank you so much for Rudy. Comfort us while we miss him. We know that you're close to the brokenhearted and you sustain those who are crushed in spirit. Be with joy during these lonely times of adjustment that lie ahead of us. Let's just join together as we break bread and celebrate Rudy's tremendous life. Amen? Amen. Eat.
Underneath all of your plates, if you haven't finished yet, there's a program. And on that program, we'll tell you what's going to happen next. And who's going to speak next, etc. So now this is the time where Jody and I are going to just say a couple of very short words. And one, thank you so much for joining us here on this afternoon. Your kindness and graciousness in being here and supporting both my parents will always be, will always touch my heart. They were wonderful people. They have lived an amazingly long life, and they have lived a life full of love and giving all of us a great example of what a loving couple is supposed to be like. So that's their gift to me, I'm sure. And this is my sister Jody. She's from Hawaii, and she'd like to say a couple of short words too.
Hi. So many nice things have already been said about my father, his life. I wish I could let you into my heart and let you see how truly good this man was and still is. A friend in this party introduced himself to me and was talking a bit, excuse me, it was a man working at the hotel, and he got in the elevator with me, and he saw the P-38, and he asked me about it, and we chit-chatted about it a little bit, and He said, "I'm so sorry for your loss." And I looked at him and I said, "I know where he stays. I know where he stays. He's in heaven. And I know that, I know I'll see my dad again another day." And I know it's kind of hard to believe, but I haven't felt sad. I've just felt so much admiration for my family and so much pride in them, more than I probably ever have. And it's just like somebody said, he was truly a man of integrity. Plus, I was Daddy's girl.
That was true. Without a doubt. And now I'd like to introduce to you my group that I sing with, Lynn Rowe. We're going to sing a song with you. Well, actually, Kevin's going to come up first. We're doing just the first Blue Skies. Are you singing with me? Okay. This is, everybody, this is Kevin Stoller. He is the second arm of this writing group that we have. He does all the arranging and composing for us, and he is truly a blessing to us. Kevin Stoller. And my son, John Nagy, is going to play with us as well. Blue sky smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Bluebirds singing a song, nothing but bluebirds all day long. Never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right. Noticing the days hurrying by, when you're in love, my how they fly. Bluebirds singing a song, all of them bluebirds all day long. Never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right. Noticing the days hurrying by, when you're in love, my how they fly. Blue days, all of them gone, nothing but blue skies all day long. Nothing but blue skies, nothing but blue skies all day long. Okay, I'm a little confused as to the organizing of this thing. But now we're doing another song. This song actually was written by Kevin Stoller, and a little bit by me. And it's about when he lost his father and what he felt about his father when his father passed. It's called Waiting for Me.
With every heartbeat I take, my thoughts go with you as I pray. Wherever you are, no matter how far, I'll be as close as the air that you breathe. Whatever I do, living without you, I can't conceive. I know you'll be waiting for me, safe in your arms. I know that I'll be wrapped in your love where no one ever comes to me. Till that moment, until that day, all of my love I can go on because I know that you'll be waiting for me. Up to the heavens I gaze. Are you watching the same stars caught in its maze? I want to feel it. Someday I'll see it in my heart. You'll always be. I want to treasure everything that I live for. Waiting for me. I know you'll be waiting for me. Safe in your arms, I know that I'll be wrapped in your love where no heart ever comes to me. Until that moment, until that day, all of my love we get away. I can go on because I know that you'll be waiting for me. Only you can keep me safe. Your love alone will show the way. Your truth gives me life. On faith alone I rely. I know you'll be waiting for me. You know I'll be waiting right here. Don't be afraid, I will always be near. When I walk beside you, no harm can come to you. Until that moment, until that day, I'm always with you, come what may. You can go on because my love's made you new. Waiting for you. Waiting for me. me and you. I say to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white. I see the sun fall through the night. I say to myself, what a wonderful world. Colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, and also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? But they really mean, I love you. I hear babies cry, and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I say to myself, what a wonderful world. And I say to myself, yeah. Oh, what a wonderful world. Thank you, everybody. Somebody told me that was Rudy's favorite song. Thank you.
Hello? I'm not known for doing short, so. I was gonna say just a couple things. Kind of hard to say things I truly want to say. The good news is I'm gonna be around a while, right? In 95 years, got a lot to live up to. Everybody who knows me knows that I had a real special relationship with my grandfather. He really was the consistent father figure in my life. And a real source of encouragement throughout my entire life and now, still and in the future. Being around my grandparents afforded me a lot of things that I wouldn't have. And sadly, I probably took some of that stuff for granted. But, really, they did influence myself, the man I am today, and of course, the man I'd like to be in the future for my boys. The one thing that really stands out to me, and not do it too much longer, is his and my grandmother's uncanny ability to make friends over the years. And I know it's amazing to see so many people that have come so far and been around for so long. Some of my most fond memories as a child involve many people in this room today. We're lucky to have a one good buddy we can have a beer with and watch football games. Let alone have a room full of people coming to honor you. So it's comforting to know that my grandmother will continue to be surrounded by such wonderful people. It's very comforting for me. Let's see, let's wrap it up quick, right? I was really impressed, honestly, yesterday at the memorial. You know, just the intensity really just kind of was a shock. But it really kind of brought back to me, you know, what a serious guy my grandfather was. Pretty, you know, serious dude. And I read his eulogy at home, and it just really brought back all the great things that he did. You know, of course I've heard about it all my life, but being a grown man and really hearing this and looking at it and thinking back on it, you know, just a pretty cool dude. You know, really amazing. You know, the service to his country, protecting our freedoms over 3 wars, just amazing. So through all that, you know, I still think of him as the tender soul. You know, he really was the kind of the light on the hill for me. You know, and now that light still shines on, Grandma. I promise I'll be quick. So, I just really, you know, to put it in perspective, I really want to have a bumper sticker on my car that says, you know, what would Rudy do? You know? And, you know, for me, it would say, you know, what would Baba do? Because, you know, that was what I called him as a child, what many of the grandkids call him. A real tender word. And it's what I continue to call him, you know, in my dreams when I talk to him. And, you know, as I go back to Louisiana and reflect on this wonderful time, you know, I'm going to look at things, at least for a short time. Hopefully it'll stick for a longer time, but at least in a short time through a different lens. You know, slowing down and really cherishing this stuff, you know, in between, which is what he did. And I hope I can continue to enjoy the friendships I've made over the years with so many good people. So, hey, as grandfather would say, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? So let's party and enjoy the celebration of his wonderful life. Thank you.
Well, Rudy was a hero. Rudy was my hero, and he was a real hero. And just an unbelievable guy. Growing up in Ohio, working his way through college so he could go to officer candidate school, worked his way up to colonel, and would have definitely been a general had he decided he wanted to stay in. But he made a great decision and started to work with Joy, the love of his life, who he'd take a bullet for, and for his daughters. Oh my God. You'd have to retire to raise those two. But they're great, and he was a real man at a time when we needed real men, and I loved it. And he was, you know, the grandfather of my children. Who covered over the battleship Iowa when they signed the peace treaty with Japan. Come on, man. Guy from Ohio, and he just had it. He just had it. And I loved him, and I respected him, and I miss him. And I'll think about him all the time, and I'll thank him for letting me marry his daughter and have two fabulous daughters of my own. And when I get choked up and I get cold chills when I think about what kind of a guy he was. So, if I had a drink, well, I do have a drink. Well, I'd like to just toast that one of the last remaining great Americans, Rudy Bellan.
So in honor of all those who fought in the service, every service, but in particular World War II, and because my dad, my mom, and I did a skit of Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy, we would like to perform that for you right now.
Maria is over there. I met Rudy about 28 years ago, right after Joy had sold me a condominium in the marina. I was invited to Joy and Rudy's for dinner, and unbeknownst to me, there were 3 single women and 3 single guys. This was Joy's private little fix-up. And that's where I met my wife Maria, who I married a couple of years later. We got together with Joy and Rudy, often both in the marina and in Big Bear, where they had a terrific home with a kitchen table that dated all the way back to when they were first married. And they had it in Germany, and they brought it all the way to Big Bear, and by the time we used to sit at it, I think it was 20, 30 years old, and it's probably even older now. Here Rudy used to tell us one of the success stories of a good marriage. He would tell us how he would put the toothpaste on Joy's toothbrush, and Joy would put the toothpaste on his toothbrush, and they would do that every night. As you know, Rudy had two tremendous qualities that we all enjoy. One, he was a great storyteller, and two, he always had a good joke. As you know, many of the stories were about his experiences in the military. And they ranged from a post-war trip with a squadron after the war. He went down to North Africa, and on the way back, I think it was Rome that he stopped. And flyboys being flyboys, they were at a restaurant and a bar, and Rudy had some young, pretty girl on his lap, and probably the other flyboys did as well. Well, when Rudy and his squadron flew back to Germany, where they were stationed, Rudy goes in the door to say hi to Joy. Joy already knew about this, and he had just gotten back, and she confronted him in good nature, and he had no idea how the news of Rome had gotten back to Joy before he even got back to Germany, and she never told him, I don't think.
The funny part was I had a picture, somebody brought it to me.
He told us about missions during the war, and as we heard a moment ago, he flew escort when the Japanese surrendered during the war. He told us that he was stationed in the Pentagon, and he used to fly with Senator Goldwater, who was apparently a reserve flight officer and needed hours in the air. He told us about being a test pilot after he left the military. Colonel Bellan was fiercely patriotic, and he risked his life for all of us. I could share one of his jokes with you, but they were usually off-color. So, in the interest of propriety, I will leave you to your memories with respect to his jokes. Rudy, we will miss you. As they say, old soldiers never die, they just fade away. But we will keep him in our hearts and keep that fade from occurring for a very long time. Colonel Bellan, I salute you for the last time.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Steve Marilla, for those of you who don't know me. I'm a friend of the family. And you guys probably didn't know that Rudy actually had a third daughter. That some of you guys don't know about that. And that's my lovely wife, Pat, over there. The first time I was invited to the Bellan's house, it was sort of an interview. I just started dating my wife, and I was invited to happy hour, which is what fighter pilots do. You know, their wives have happy hour. So I had been in the military, and I was a pilot myself. And so it was a first interview, and Colonel Bellan was there, and he had those steely blue eyes. And I knew that this was more or less, he was checking me out. They were going to see if I was good enough for their daughter. And formal introductions, and then we had a few drinks. By the end of the evening, I knew that it was going to be okay. So on our friendship went. And we miss him a lot. Beside my father, he's one of the few men in my life that I've actually admired, or come to admire. He was a true hero, as Bud said. He was just an amazing man. He was a hero. During World War II, all the stories he'd tell, they were amazing. I wish I could have been there with him. Let's see here. Besides being a father, and a great father, he was to his daughters and his family. He was a warrior, fighter pilot, and I admired him for that because it struck true with me. What I also admired about him was that he was an artist. You know, despite all of the hardships that he incurred during the military, he encountered all the things he had to do for his country. He somehow was able to keep alive his creative spirit and his sensitivity, as Danny pointed out. He was a very tender soul, and I admired that about him. He was able to maintain that. So I guess to sum it up, he was an example. He was a gentleman, father, a wonderful husband. I think my wife and I have modeled our married life after joining Rudy. We've been around for many years, and how they interacted and how they loved one another was a true example for us. I didn't realize I was getting so emotional. So in closing, I think I'd like to read a poem, sort of an artsy poem, and it's called High Flight. Oh, I have slipped the surely bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter's silvered wings. Somewhere I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds and done 100 things you have not dreamed of. Wheeled and soared and swung. High in the sunlit silence, hovering there I've cleared, or climbed, and chased the shouting winds along, and flung my aircraft through footless halls of air. Up, up, along delirious burning blue, I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace, where never lark or even eagle flew. And while with silent, lifting mind I trod, the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God. That was by John Gillespie McGee Jr. That was from World War II. So that's a poem that I always think about when I read that poem. I think of Rudy. So thanks a lot, you guys.
If you all would look on the other side of your program, I wrote a song. I wanted to write a song in tribute to my dad, and then I realized that really it was a tribute to what I think is the most endearing characteristics of what they stood for, and that is an incredible love affair between a man and a woman. So here it is. He walked into the room, the captain and his crew, E-38 hotshot pilot. She danced across the floor with fire in her eyes and flames unto me. Got to have her, she's the one who makes my heart go flip-flop. Got to have her, she'll be my lover and my wife. This love is you
My name is Jack Wood, and I think I know the high percentage of you here. And my wife was with me over here, Connie Wood. And so I consider Rudy one of my dear friends. I was one of the first I really liked. You know, so you got a lot of good friends. But sometimes you have people you like. So Rudy and I used to get together and do a lot of talking. See, he was in an airplane during the war, and I was in a submarine. And so we had some interesting stories to talk about. In fact, he told some stories that just about broke me up. I mean, most of you, or many of you may have heard him, but he had some wonderful stories. But we were in Marina Del Rey when we met the Bellans. And we got to know them very well. They became a very big part of our life. And so when we got together for parties or anything, which we had plenty of in Marina Del Rey, believe me, we would always have something going on that was fun. Connie and I did our 15th wedding anniversary in Malibu. And we had everybody come like they were in 1943, can you imagine? And it was quite an interesting group. But when we asked for some of the entertainment to come out, who comes walking out? But Rudy and Joy and Jenna and their sisters. Rudy was something, if you had, I wish we had a picture of it. It was really something. And it was great. Did you see it in there? There was in there. Yeah, that was a great time. So we had some wonderful times together that way. We swapped stories, and Rudy became very, very important to me. And in his latter days here, we used to get together and chat a little bit when we stopped and see him. So I thank the Lord that we had a chance to have Rudy be a part of our life. And he was a very definite part of our life for the last 30 years. So we thank the Lord for that. Thank you, Rudy, for being a part of my life and Connie's life. And we know you're in a better place right now.
I'm very honored to be able to say a few words about my good friend, Colonel Rudy Bellan. Rudy and I had a lot in common. We both were raised up in Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio for Rudy, and Akron, Ohio for myself. And we also entered the Air Force, Rudy out of Cleveland and myself out of Cleveland. Rudy went in the military in 1941. I went in the Air Force in 1953. We sort of followed one another around the country. Rudy was stationed in Frankfurt, Germany. In Germany, I don't know if it's Frankfurt. I also was Frankfurt and stationed there as well. And we left there and he went to Washington, D.C. And I also ended up flying in Washington, D.C. Rudy was a jet pilot, but I was an enlisted man stationed at Andrews in the Special Air Mission. Rudy mentioned that one of his prize joy was when he flew cover for General
MacArthur?
No, it was sorry about that, I can't think of his name. The general, when he was signed the, right, he was covering, I can't think of that, I'm sorry about that. But anyway, one of my proudest moments was when I had the opportunity to fly to China with President Nixon. And also when I had the opportunity to fly to Beijing with President Ford later. But Rudy was a fighter pilot. He was the guy that flew cover for many, many missions in the Army, in the Air Force, and also when he was flying in World War II. He was an officer and a gentleman, and I'm so happy to have had the opportunity to meet him. But the one thing I do regret is that I did not have the opportunity to work for him in the United States Air Force. Thank you.
We promise this is our last time out there.
It's the last one. John?
John?
I'll just pretend.
We're gonna have to wait for our company. Somebody.
Maybe if we say it really loud. You'd be surprised what I can get out of the bathroom.
Anybody got a joke that my dad used to tell? Story?
You're not allowed to here. Remember, it's
Not color.
It's not color.
Well, what Lee Simmons, one of the things that Lee didn't mention is that my father was invited by the Tuskegee Airmen to join them in their annual ceremonies because help me somebody if I don't get this quite right, the Air Force, the flight manual that they used that was, that judged the actual competition.
Very first aerial competition house
Right.
the Air Force ever had.
Right, Dad wrote that manual, and the Tuskegee Airmen were involved in that. And actually, truth be known, the Tuskegee, one of the pilots actually did beat all of the other pilots. But at the time, there was not equity in color back then, and he didn't get the same kind of award that he should have gotten had he been white. But they were gracious enough to include my dad. It wasn't this year. Well, they asked Dad to come this year, but he wasn't well enough, so it was last year that Dad rolled up, and we had him in a little roller, and all the remaining Tuskegee Airmen were there. And actually, this was the time when Tom Cruise's movie Red Tails came out. Not Tom Cruise. Was it Tom Cruise that had the?
Was it Tom Cruise?
Well, Tom Cruise has a collection of airplanes. The actor Tom Cruise has a collection of airplanes, and his planes were in Red Tails. I don't know if any of you saw that, but it was about the Tuskegee Airmen. And so they flew over the Riverside Library where they had the big celebration. They flew over and did a flyby in their P-38s, and it was really awesome. Yes, they did. Dad was probably the oldest one there, and they treated Dad like he was, the second coming. So that was really more than gracious of them. That was really sweet. So that was cool. Well, Johnny? No, John? Okay. Well, we're gonna sing a song without my son accompanying us. So.
Singing a song, nothing but bluebirds.
to Rudy because he's got nothing but blue skies. The centerpieces were created and donated to us by Marge Dillon and Shar Lampier. Thank you so much. And if you'll notice, though, there's a little card there that has a little P38 on it, and Shar made that for us. We thought that was really adorable. So thank you, the two of you, wherever you are.
And whoever is, Rudy's birthday is January the 13th. At each table, whoever's birthday is closest to January 13th, you take the flower centerpiece with them.
Did you hear that? So whoever's birthday is closest to January the 13th at the table, you're the one who gets the centerpiece. There you go. Thank you so much for coming and have a lovely day.